Unlock a new era in podcasting with Unfiltered Studios. Ready to break free from the ordinary? Dive into a world where authenticity meets innovation. Our network isn't just about podcasts. It's a revolution. From nostalgia to movies, sports to self-improvement, find your favorite podcast in an array of diverse shows, only at Unfiltered Studios. Join the movement. Subscribe to Unfiltered Studios today and join the podcasting revolution. Unfiltered Studios, where every voice finds its place. Visit unfpod.com today to find your favorite show.
Unfiltered Studios will help you press record.
All right, welcome back, class. On today's very special Afterschool Special, we have a post-observation review of Netflix's The Crown with a special guest, Mrs. McDonald. All this and more in our Afterschool Special for The Crown.
It's time for a Fandalorians Afterschool Special.
Welcome to the I'm sorry. Welcome to the Fandalorians podcast, Teachers by Day, Nerds by Night. My favorite part of this was us playing the jingle and Mr. McDonald laughing, and Mr. McDonald with a face like, yeah, no. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. This is what you guys play. I love it. My name is Mr. Richardson. This is an after school special episode, which is what we use when we do something real quick. We have one topic. We're going to jump right in, get into it. So you won't hear me rattle on about being tired or Penn State. You won't hear Mr. G talk about some sort of book. You won't hear Mr. McDonald make fun of his wife. All that's cut out. See, I have the shot. See that? Look at him. You're sweating? Look at him. You can't say nothing. It's just
maybe I should start listening more now, huh?
Yep. See, I'm just playing. I'm just joking. He has never said anything. Anyway, we're here today to discuss a couple of things. We're going to have a lot of fun. But before I get into it, you know me. Ms. McDonald's here. He's not speaking yet, but let me introduce for her third appearance on the podcast. She's close to 5, which means you get a jacket that your husband will pay for. Yeah, it's going to be nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Can we just turn it to a hoodie? She'd probably wear that more.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get you a hoodie.
I'm all about the hoodie.
The lovely, the wonderful, the beautiful Mrs. Lauren McDonald. Thank you for being here.
Oh, I thank you. Oh, I like that. I like that introduction. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and I cannot wait to talk about The Crown.
I love it because I didn't see The Crown. Hopefully, you guys sell me. I'm looking forward to it. Bell rings. There's a jingle. After that, we discuss The Crown.
Please excuse the interruption. Please excuse the interruption. Please excuse the interruption. Can the Fandalorians please come down to the main office? The principal is ready to see you now. It's time for your post-observation review. The principal is ready to see you now. It's time for your post-observation review.
It would help if we could decide here and now on your name.
My name?
Yes, ma'am. Your regnal name. That is the name you will take as queen.
Let's not overcomplicate matters unnecessarily. My name is Elizabeth.
And long live Queen Elizabeth.
Don't you get sick of it all? And lonely?
I do. I'm not going to lie. That trailer was actually interesting. I got hooked by a stupid trailer. I was looking at that like, oh, that's interesting.
10 seconds of talking, and you're like, all right, I'm in.
You know those 30-second trailer for anything is just like, you know what? I'm paying for Netflix. Enough. All right, here we go. The Crown is a historical drama television series about the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, created and written by Peter Morgan and produced by Sony Pictures for Netflix. Peter Morgan developed the series from his film The Queen, which came out in 2006, and his stage play The Audience, which came out in 2013, which also focuses on Elizabeth. And the series consists of 6 seasons spanning almost 6 decades, beginning shortly before the wedding of Princess Elizabeth and Philip Mountbatten. Nice, nailed it without any prep. In 1947, and ending with the 2005 wedding of Prince Charles and Camilla, right? Yeah. I mean, don't let me botch these names because these people could come after me. They got friends. They have
Some of them are still alive. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I don't want any trouble. The principal cast of the series has been changed every 2 seasons. Elizabeth, for example, was played by Claire Foy in the 1st and 2nd season, Olivia Colman in 3rd and 4th, and Imelda Staunton in the 5th and 6th season. The 6th season covers 1997 to 2005 during the premiership of Tony Blair. The series has won 21 Primetime Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Drama Series for its 4th season and 7 awards for the cast. It has also won the Golden Globe Award for Best Television Series Drama twice. And recently, Elizabeth Debicki won for her portrayal of Princess Diana. Thank you. And the name wasn't there. I'm like, who did she play? I lost it for a second. You guys are going to review the entire series. And as Mr. McDonald put it, kind of get people to come watch it if they haven't already. So you won't be spoiling too much. And it's not really spoiling it because it actually happened in real life. So people could always look it up. That being said, we're going to break this down.
Queen Elizabeth dies.
Right. You ruined the ending. That's it. The Titanic is also going to sink. All right. Post-observation review. When you have an observation with an administrator, they come in and ask some questions when it's over. The first one is in general, how successful was this lesson? The series overall. Let me ask you this. Actually, time out. I don't know if this will come up or not. Is this the last season that we just did? Is it over?
Yes.
Over?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then you guys can come back to that. I wasn't sure how to say this. Okay, in general, how successful was the lesson? So the series as a whole, as you know, is completely over. You watched all of it, start to finish. How successful was this, Mr. McDonald? Of course you're going to go first.
I would love to go first. Thank you so much.
You always get to go first. What?
Well, I just wanted to start off how excited I was when I heard that The Crown was coming out. Coming from a family of history teachers, my dad was always really into monarchies. So you would say to my dad, 1162, he would be able to tell you who the king and queen of England was at that time, like just from memory. So the royal family was always something that we always talked about in my house. So when I saw that this was coming out, I knew I was definitely going to watch it.
Was there fear or worry that they wouldn't get it right as someone who knows history like yourself? Was there anxiety? And then when you saw a trailer, you were like, okay, this is right. Was there any of that? If you remember, it was a while ago.
No, not really. You know, I found myself Googling a lot. You know, I'd be like, oh, I want to learn more about that. Or, oh, I didn't know that happened. They say a lot of the series is based on true events, but there's some dramatic effect to it as well. So what's real, what's not, was kind of up in the air. As a whole, I really enjoyed the series. I thought it was done very well. The actors were fantastic. The writing was great. I just, as a whole, enjoyed it.
You know, I also thought it was incredibly successful, particularly the early seasons, because it's just stuff I didn't know about. Even as a history teacher, you know, you have a limited amount of things that you kind of remember. They would dive into things that you didn't quite know about. The later seasons, you're like, oh, I kind of remember that. Anything from the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, you're like, yeah, I kind of lived through that. It wasn't quite as kind of engrossing, but those early seasons, like the first 4 seasons, were just really, really interesting. And much like Lauren said, of course, I want to know how accurate it was, but it doesn't matter. It was just good television.
Lauren went into specifics, the actors, as well as a few other things that she specifically stood out for her. What else stood out for you, McDonald? Mr. McDonald.
I know you can't just say McDonald.
I know. I gotta.
There's 4 people and a dog here who would respond to that.
Ryan just pops on the screen. Well, my thoughts were they didn't know I was watching it, but secretly, I'm a big fan.
We tried to get Ryan to watch it because after Queen Elizabeth passed away, he went into a deep dive and he actually Googled the family tree all the way back to Queen Victoria.
And he got about 8 seconds into the crown and he was like, "No, it's too slow. I'm out."
He'll come back.
Yeah.
They will come back.
Yeah. What I thought the crown did best is they took these little kind of known historical moments and it really fleshed that out, where you see these characters as very flawed people. Most of them are ultimately good people, but they're all making choices. And it's these little things like weaved in between stories that you thought you already knew. And so it did a really, really nice job of that.
Lauren, what did you specifically like about the show?
I mean, I enjoyed, I guess, really the history of it. And I really enjoyed that it made me deep dive into things I don't know. For example, in season 3, episode 3, it's called Aberfan, and it's about a town in Wales where there was a landslide and it covers a school. So, a schoolhouse gets covered and unfortunately the children pass away. And it was a very dark episode, but I had never heard of this event before. And the focus is mainly on the Queen's reaction to it, how it took her a long time to go visit the town. She wasn't emotional about it. She couldn't shed a tear. And they're like, is the Queen a robot? But
you see her perspective and you get why she's like that.
Yeah.
You guys are selling me early. I like that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, I had never heard of this, event that had happened. So I wound up Googling it and learning about it. And they even did little background stories on the families that were affected. And I found it interesting. I mean, it was heartbreaking. I mean, that's just one instance.
Yeah, they did it with the London fog that you never quite knew about. Even in the final season, the final season deals a lot with Diana and Charles after they were divorced. It tells the story of 2 photographers. And it just tells you a version of the things that you didn't quite know about. And it was really, really interesting.
So you're saying there were a few moments in this series where you were like, wait, that happened? And then check to figure out that actually happened. Enough to shock both of you. That's cool.
Yeah, and we're both moderately educated people that know a lot about history. So I can only imagine regular non-history nerd.
Yeah, completely me. I would watch it and be like, that's not real. That can't be real.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that really happened? Because that's what I would think about that mudslide. You would think I would know of that event. All right. So what would you do differently about this series? Is there any part of it you would tweak? Mr. McDonald, how would you switch this up if you could? Anything you'd like to change?
Well, I talked about how seasons 5 and 6 weren't as engaging because it was the 90s and 2000s. And honestly, the last half of the last season really focused on Will and Kate. And I don't think it hit as well because I really think it's better when it focuses on Elizabeth. And anytime it's not focusing on Elizabeth, it really kind of loses its steam.
Would you say that, and these are my questions because I didn't say it, would you say it didn't hit with you because you lived it? As in if my daughter would like it because she didn't live that time? Or is it just the lack of focus of Elizabeth, or you would say both?
I have to agree with Mr. McDonald, which doesn't happen very often. So the thing this is being recorded.
Yes.
I feel like because they split season 6 into 2 parts. So the first part deals with, Diana and Charles after the divorce and really how it affected the children, Harry and William.
Okay.
And then after her death, how it affected mainly William. And I think they focused more on William because he eventually will be king.
Well, it is called The Crown.
Yeah.
Right.
But they also...
Poor Harry.
Yeah, I know. But but the same thing happened in season 1 and 2 with Margaret, who is Queen Elizabeth's sister, because the first thing that the Queen Mother says to Queen Elizabeth, she says, the crown comes first. No matter what, the crown comes first. And this was coming from the Queen Mother, from King George the Fourth. King George V's wife.
She knew.
And it was like how with Philip, her relationship with Philip, the crown has to come first. Her relationship with Margaret, the crown comes first. So now,
even her own children.
Exactly. So then now, going to season 6, it's kind of William and Harry. Crown comes first.
What's interesting now thinking about it as well. I also think that seasons 5 and 6, especially season 6, it doesn't seem as important because honestly, the crown isn't as important as it was in the 50s and the 60s. We don't look at British royalty the same way.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right. Welcome to the Teacher's Lounge. If you ever ventured to the Teacher's Lounge, you hear these weird conversations going on. Things like this. What was their senior quote? Best line or line in the series? You have any lines from any season that just stuck out to you, grabbed you, maybe even wrote it down when it happened?
Not necessarily an actual quote. There was a lot of interesting things. I think, I guess, going back to what I said before, is that the crown comes first. Because that is really the struggle that Queen Elizabeth had throughout her reign.
Well, yeah, my quote that my specific quote is from Prince Philip, and it's from season 1, episode 3. It's a very simple quote that I feel like we've all said in some way, shape, or form. But he just says, "What kind of marriage is this? What kind of family?" It's different when he is now the husband of the queen. He even says later, "You took my career from me. You've taken my home. You've taken my name. I thought we were in this together." And so she has to completely change her marriage as queen. She has to change every relationship as queen. And it's fascinating to see her, especially in the early seasons, struggle with that.
Again, I'm not a historian at all, but just from the 30-second clip that I saw, it appears that she just reluctantly doesn't want to really do this. Am I fair to say that's what it kind of looked like, or am I wrong?
Well, I'm going to do a quick rule. Well, she was never supposed to be queen in the first place. Originally it was Edward was supposed to be king, and he met a woman and they wouldn't let him marry her. He abdicated the throne. He gave it up. And so it went to his brother. When Queen Elizabeth was born, she wasn't even close to the line of succession. And all of a sudden, now she's the heir in line, and then her father dies, and now she's queen. She reluctantly becomes queen. And you even see in the beginning, she's like, "Oh, I'm going to make some changes." And they're like, "No, you're not, because the crown comes first."
Way to bring it back around. I like that. Well done.
I got to support my wife.
Absolutely.
Much like Prince Philip.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Was there any most rewatchable moment?
The problem is there's almost too many.
Too many.
Well, it's so interesting. Like one of my favorite scenes actually doesn't involve Elizabeth at all, because it's, I keep talking about the early seasons. I loved Princess Margaret as just a character, someone who could never get her way because her sister was queen. And then when she eventually kind of, adapts to being the sister of the queen, she wants a bigger kind of role in the royal family. And they're kind of reluctant to give it to her because she's kind of seen as like a party girl or whatever. And at some point, it's the 60s. They need something. And so the Kennedys come, and they just are not getting along with Elizabeth at all. It's just they're two separate generations, and she's seen as very different than the Kennedys. And it's actually Margaret comes in and she works this dinner party like she's an orchestra conductor, just working people over. And before you know it, we get, the queen gets the agreement that she was really looking for, and it would really let Princess Margaret shine. And I just thought it was just really interesting.
Was that with the Kennedys, or was that when she visits?
That's the Kennedys.
Because the Kennedys come.
No, same episode. It's when Margaret goes into America.
Yeah, it's later on.
Oh, okay.
Because there is an episode with the Kennedys, and that's where the Kennedys are seen as how you said, unprecedented against the royal family. The royal family is prim and proper, and Jackie Kennedy is like this glamour. Queen Elizabeth actually takes a page out of Jackie Kennedy's book, and that's how she does something unprecedented in Ghana, has some sort of positive political effect. I think what you're thinking of is Princess Margaret goes to the White House and meets the Johnsons.
It's after Kennedy's assassin.
Yeah, she woos Lyndon B. Johnson.
We're talking about 6 seasons of a series. There's one in every episode of every season of a moment that you're like, that was awesome. Because that just tells you the power of Peter Morgan is a playwright, and he writes this television show more like a play. Conversations move really quickly. The best way to compare it is like Aaron Sorkin. It's kind of got that flow like that as well.
That kid said what? This is somewhat of a serious piece, but were there some funny moments? Did you laugh at all?
When I think about something that was funny, season 4, episode 2, it's called The Balmoral Test. The royal family's home in Scotland. It's actually Queen Elizabeth's favorite place to be. It's like where they go for Christmas, and like it's their family home. They go hunting. It's just very rugged and very laid back. So they invite Margaret Thatcher, she's the prime minister at the time, and her husband to Balmoral. And there's a Balmoral test where they kind of just do their thing and kind of see how their guests react. So it's like, okay, well, we're wearing our galoshes and going out in the rain to go hunting, and there's Margaret Thatcher like dressed for dinner, in high heels. And then the whole time, like Margaret Thatcher and her husband have no clue what's happening, and the family's just doing their thing. Like at first, like I thought it was rude. Like if that was me, if I was Margaret Thatcher, I would be like, I'm leaving this place. This is ridiculous.
Right.
But it's the test to see how they react to it. And fun fact, because it's the same season where Diana is introduced, Diana passes the Balmoral test. And they all talk about how, wow,
a big deal of it.
She did great. She even shot her first deer. And like it was like, oh wow, she fits right in.
So the test is either you stare at them awkwardly or you say, let me get the boots, I'm going to join you, basically.
Exactly.
Who's going to ride
It's saying you're either in or you're out.
You're in or out. Without them inviting you. Just like, are you coming with us or not?
Yeah.
Basically. That's cool. That's really cool. I like that.
The British are known for their super dry humor. So she has a lot of kind of like quiet, subtle digs that are kind of funny. My favorite funny part comes from the season of the series finale, the last episode of season 6, and it is at Charles and Camilla's wedding, and she insists on giving a speech, not just as queen but also as the mother of the groom. And so she gets up there and everybody's staring at her, and all of a sudden she's like, so you may not know who I am, but I'm the mother of the groom. And she goes up and she gives, it's like 3 minutes of stand-up comedy. It is fantastic.
That's great.
Oh, kind of like the best man speech at our wedding.
I wasn't going to name drop my own speech. I was kind of like hoping someone would get there. I'm glad Lauren came back on the screen. Yes, that was good. That was a fun time. I love that. I wish I had it written down.
We do have it on video somewhere.
Yes. Teacher, class, what is the capital of New York? Student, Martin Luther King. Things that don't make any sense. That's the topic.
Wait, that actual quote actually happened in my classroom today.
All right, I need that story. We're going to get off topic right now. So wait, what happened? You actually said that?
No, because we were doing Me on the Map today, right. And it was like, what country do we live in? And they're like, I don't even know. I don't even know what the answer was, but it was something absolutely ridiculous. And
if for the listeners who are not teachers, there are many moments where kids will answer a question and you have to do everything you can. Like you're playing poker and you have 4 aces. You have to do everything you can to not show the laugh that you're trying to hold in by what they just said. You have to like look the other way. I put my hands in my pocket and pinch my leg.
See, that's why I like teaching high school. I don't have to hold back.
You don't have to. Mine, ours will cry. They're sensitive. They just get upset. What didn't make sense?
I mean, there was no drastic changes of history. It's not like, the queen died in 1997 or anything like that. Right. Or she's like, she's a secret agent the entire time and she's running
by a radioactive spider. None of
yeah,
that.
Exactly.
Right. But
no, like I said before, the way it ended, I didn't like the focus on Will and Kate. It just didn't hold my interest the same way.
Actually, I have something that quite the opposite, because season 1 and 2, obviously they changed the actress because she's getting older. Right. So season 1 and 2, season 3 and 4 is the same actress, and season 5 and 6 is the same actress. So season 3, the way that they did it is that, so they had Claire Foy, who is the youngest, who played the queen in seasons 1 and 2. So the way they started season 3 was how they had Claire Foy, and she was looking in the mirror, and they had her age
into someone else,
into the other actress. And then she made a comment where oh, look at these wrinkles or something like that.
In season 5, didn't they do the stamp? And that was the transition.
Yes.
So it was kind of like, remember in Fresh Prince when they changed
and Viv.
Yeah. They just acknowledged it a little bit. And you're just like, I see what you did there.
Yeah. So I thought that was really what helped make it make sense, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I like that. Mr. G, can I go to the bathroom? Were there any slow parts in the series as a whole? We already talked about the ending last seasons, but were there any parts early on that you would think dragged a little bit, storylines that they really shouldn't have focused on as much, in your opinion, not counting, again, the ending?
No, I mean, I almost want to say anytime they didn't focus on Elizabeth, but I also loved when they focused on Margaret. So what I'm going to say is anytime they didn't focus on that kind of generation where it's Elizabeth, Prince Philip, Princess Margaret, those were the 3 characters that really held your attention, but also those were the 3 characters that had actors and actresses that just blew the doors off of everyone. Matt Smith was Prince Philip in the first 2 seasons. Really? And yeah, he's charismatic and charming, but also kind of a jerk, because yet again, I say this as a compliment with Matt Smith. He has a very punchable face where he plays characters that you're like, but he does it so well.
But also, I found Prince Philip to be, in the first season, to be kind of whiny, because
his entire life got changed.
Well, but the thing is that in the first or second episode of the first season, before her father passes away, King George VI takes him hunting and says, do you know what it really takes to be her husband? And he's like, yeah. King George is like, well, I don't really think you do you? And he's like, yeah, I got, I'll take care of her. You don't worry, because everybody at that point knew that he was dying.
Well, there's being Elizabeth's husband and then Queen Elizabeth's husband. But I don't think he was ready for that.
Exactly. But the whole time he's whining and he's going out, there's a whole there's a little subplot about how Prince Philip possibly could have cheated on Queen Elizabeth. They kind of dive into that a little bit.
Well, they
hint at it. Of course, in my Googling, there's nothing concrete on it. But they later on really do go into how great their relationship was. They really, really, really did love each other.
All right. Who is your star student in the class? That's the best character in the show.
So this could be a character or specific actor or actress.
My first star sticker has to go to Claire Foy. I just think she was classic, because also I just love that old time, 40s and 50s.
Classy lady.
She played Queen Elizabeth in the first 2 seasons,
She's
right?
the first Queen Elizabeth.
The first. Got you. I understand.
Yep. So she's just classic. And I really enjoyed her. Like when they do bring them back, because sometimes there's like flashbacks or whatever it might be. I always enjoyed seeing her. So
that's cool. They did flashbacks. So in later seasons, they did flashbacks to the other season and brought the cast back for a couple scenes.
Yep.
Basically. That's
of course.
Good thinking. That's
and then
man.
actually, I also have somebody who I would, I guess, like in my classroom, I would move his clip. Giving
us new content. I love it. Move the clip. Who's getting the clip moved?
Yep.
For better or for worse.
Yeah, but the thing is, in my classroom, you can move your clip up for positive, but down for negative.
Okay.
And you always have a chance to move it back up. But this particular actor, Dominic West, who plays Prince Charles in the last 2 seasons, not a fan. The reason being is that he plays the main character in the show The Affair on Showtime.
So you have too much baggage with him?
He just creeps me out. He truly creeps me out. He gives me the willies. And so the whole time, him being Prince Charles, I just couldn't put my finger on it. Like I couldn't just wrap my mind around him being Prince Charles.
So basically, he would get the star sticker on The Affair because he's so good, you can't not see him when he's in something else. Yeah, but on this show, he definitely gets moved down.
No, but he creeps me out even on The Affair.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You're bringing that creep from. He was so good in that series that he's bringing it over.
I didn't like him on that series either.
She doesn't like him.
They just don't like him. Sorry, Dominic West. They just don't like you.
Oh, right now he's like, you just lost a subscriber.
No.
Now, for me, if I had to do one actor or actress in one particular role in this, I would go with Vanessa Kirby, who in the first 2 seasons plays Princess Margaret, Elizabeth's sister. I thought she was an amazing actress. I thought the character choices that they had her do in the first 2 seasons were deep and heartfelt and kind of tragic, because back then the crown never wavered. She wanted to marry someone, but she couldn't. Why? Because the guy was divorced. And they were like, we are not altering. It's not until the 2000s that the crown starts to change. And so poor Princess Margaret gets kind of cast aside just because her sister is the queen. And I thought that Vanessa Kirby did such a really, really nice job of that. And actually, rumors are, Mr. Richardson, that Vanessa Kirby is going to be Sue Storm in the Fantastic Four movie.
Who ate my lunch? Mr. and Mrs. McDonald, you're on the set. You've been there for all 6 years, working hard, and you're on the way out the door. They say, listen, you two, you can grab whatever you want. Whatever you want from all the season. You get one thing to walk out the door with. From this series, what are you stealing on the way out?
Well, I know what Mrs. McDonald is going to steal.
Wow. Look, and she's giving you a glare like,
yeah,
okay.
You know what it is?
Here we go.
She's gonna steal the Queen's corgis.
Ooh.
See?
I didn't even think of that.
Her face went from that. How are you telling me what I want to? Oh yeah, that's a good point.
But wow, Mr. McDonald may know me better than I know myself. Look at that. Yes, the Queen's corgis. I had like the random tiaras because they are just fabulous. But
you can take both. We'll let you take both. Go ahead and take the corgis.
How about the corgis walking with the tiaras on their
head? The whole set. Whatever you can get into a bucket.
Whatever you can fit on a corgi, you can take.
You can take with you. What about you, McDonald? What are you taking? You already got the corgis in the car.
All right.
Yeah, the tiaras. There's room for a little bit.
I loved all of the super awesome mega yachts. I don't know where I'd keep it.
No,
but
that's okay. That's okay. You get to take it.
I'll just
figure
live
it out
on
later.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out later because you get to keep it.
No, because there's all this kind of, they're always, not always, but someone's always in the Mediterranean on a beautiful beach or on a luxurious yacht, especially in the later seasons with Princess Diana, when she's these very, very, very wealthy friends, and these yachts are like bigger than the street that we live on. It's super impressive. Corgis and boats
and tiaras.
Are we teaching again next year? We know the series is over, but this ties into a question I have for you, though, which might go through it. Let me ask my question first. Ready? Is there something, another historical person that you would love to see in a new 6-season Netflix thing? Is there another? So look at the faces. Okay, interesting. Is there? You guys know history better than me. I wouldn't have an answer. Is there anything you can think of that you would like to see? And both of you are like, why didn't you ask me this earlier? So I had time to think about this. You got one, McDonald?
Got it.
All right. What would you like to see?
What I want to see is like an HBO kind of prestige series or like a Netflix prestige series about someone who did lots of really, really good things for the United States and someone who did lots of really, really bad things for the United States. I want a series about Andrew Jackson.
I would have, can I do a little research and get back to you? Because the first thing that popped into my head was Joan of Arc, because I don't know much about her.
I would watch that because I don't know much about her, but I've heard little bits here and there as I don't know a lot of history, but for some reason, she's one of the few people in history who have made it into my consciousness, and I don't even know how, not counting Bill and Ted. Like, I don't know outside of that, I still know a little bit.
Yeah.
Socrates.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a fascinating story that I know the gist of. I really love that idea. I'd watch it.
Like fascinating story that I want to know more about.
Right.
Now, what I will tell you is this was the 6th and final season, and it ended in 2005. I kind of wish there was a 7th season. There's still more.
Mm-hmm.
But
even though you weren't a fan of the last,
but then it would suffer from the same problems I saw for season 5 and 6. I mean, it was this. I mean, I'll ask a question, Mrs. McDonald. Do you think it was a satisfying season finale?
Yes and no, because you know that it goes past 2005. Like, I mean, she doesn't pass away until 2022.
Yeah, she lives another 17 years.
And there is
Spoiler alert.
A lot more controversy things that they could go into, like obviously with Harry and William.
They could cast Meghan Markle as Meghan Markle.
I'm going to ask you another question because I'm curious now. You know me, I got questions. Did the royal family have any impact on this, feedback on this? Was there any, they had nothing? Like, were they mad? Were they happy? Did you ever hear things like that?
I mean, officially, the royal family had no comment.
We don't have Netflix. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well,
what's Netflix?
No, but what I could only imagine is they all like, oh, it's out. Let's watch it. And then they watch it and be like, that's not how it happened. Or, oh my God, they actually got that right. Who told them? Or
it's like when we watch Abbott Elementary and be like, that doesn't really happen.
Yes.
Like, we don't have like pretty little gardens outside of our classrooms.
No. But, and then, in the same sense, there are a few things that do happen. So they probably saw some things that did happen and some things that didn't. Like administrators spending money on things they shouldn't spend it on. That happens all the time.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, but the flower bed doesn't exist. Well, I'll say it. I don't care. I should say it.
But actually, in my research for this podcast, one of the questions that it said, did the royal family watch The Crown? It did say that Harry did make a little comment about how he did watch it in his little Netflix series.
Well, that's also just synergy right there.
Yes. Right. You better say you like it.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Can you believe she asked a question at the end of the meeting? Anything else you want to add to this? As you know, you as teachers, you're in meetings, and sometimes people ask questions when it's almost over that could have been in the email, but they ask it anyway. Who's got a question before we wrap this up and drag this on a little bit longer? McDonald, you have a question.
Yes. All right.
Always you.
So, Mrs. McDonald, what are we going to have for dinner tomorrow? No, I'm kidding. No, no, Mrs. McDonald. There were 3 actors.
You can call her Lauren.
That's true.
Okay.
Lauren.
She knows you.
Vaguely. Of the 3 major roles, Philip, Elizabeth, and Margaret, who were your favorite actresses? Rank them. I know you said Claire Foy was number 1.
Yeah.
Oh, out of the 3 Elizabeths, how would you rank the 3? That's a great question.
So, yes, Claire Foy was my number 1. And then I would say the second actress,
Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman was number 2. And then Imelda Staunton, because she really is Dolores Umbridge. She's not the queen.
Lauren does not forget. If you're a bad guy in one movie, you are done.
I noticed.
And she also, Pat and I have our joke that
she looks like my mom.
She does. She really looks like Pat's mom.
So because of that, I'm going to make her number one. But seriously, I would go in order. I thought Claire Foy was a fantastic actress, number one. Coleman, number two. Then Staunton, number three. Now, for Prince Philip, definitely Matt Smith, number one. Tobias Mendes. Actually, no, I'm going to go Jonathan Pryce, number two, the oldest Prince Philip, and then Tobias Menzies. He was fine. Now, Princess Margaret. I feel like I'm going to go in order again. It's going to be
your favorite character.
It's Margaret.
A lot.
It's Margaret.
Yeah,
Margaret's fantastic. And then Vanessa Kirby was number one. Then Helena Bonham Carter was number two. And then Leslie Manville as the oldest Princess Margaret, because she did see that. I'm gonna like her more because she gets to be like the old and sad and kind of depressed Princess Margaret, and she really does such a wonderful job of portraying that. And she still has a bit of her swagger from her young days, and it's so interesting. I mean, I guess I'd have to go in order.
Nice.
Lauren, what is your final grade for this series?
I have to give it an A. I think it was done very well. We're starting to rewatch it because I wanted to rewatch it with Ryan, and he's not ready for that yet. But I'm going to go back and rewatch it and make connections and pick. I'm a fan.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I mean, I watch things 8,000 times. Like Apollo 13, I think I've literally watched 87 times. And I pick up on something new every single time. So I'm a big fan of rewatching things. Have to give it an A.
For me, I'm going to go A-. And the A- is just the modern stuff didn't hold my attention in the same kind of way. I mean, I almost wish it stopped after season 4. But also, having said that, there still were some really fantastic episodes during the even the final season. Like there was an episode where she's getting pressure to modernize the monarchy, and so they're trying to thin out some of the royal jobs, because there's a guy whose job is to take care of swans, and so the people in the government are like, can you cut some of this down? And so there's an entire episode of her interviewing her entire staff, essentially having people justify their jobs. And at the end, she's like, nah, I'm not making any changes because every single person justified their job. And she's like, no, this is how it's going to be. And it was just so interesting. And it certainly had its moments.
Piggybacking off of that, she found that every single person, from the person who's in charge of the stemware to the swans to the art to whatever it was, has some sort of historical significance, tracking all the way back to the 10th century. How do you justify getting rid of historical significance?
I know your family's worked here for 1,000 years, but you're fired.
Yeah, right. We gotta make some cuts. All right, final grades for both of you were an A and an A-. And you guys love the show, and I am hooked. Thank you.
You know what? No, I'm going to change it back to. I'm going to go to an A. I'm being too kind of recency biased. Seasons 1 through, especially 1 and 2, they're so good. I'm going to go A.
I wrote this in pen. So what are we doing? It's not a
scratch it out.
You messed it up. You messed the whole thing up.
Turn it into an A+.
I'm going.
You know how much I hate an A+.
Yes, I do. So an A+ from Mr. McDonald, an A from Mrs. McDonald. Lauren, did you have fun?
Of course, I always have fun. I actually thought about something else that made me laugh. King George VI, it was right when he found out that he had lung cancer, he's going to die, figured that he needed to start spending more time with Elizabeth. It was Christmas, they were at Balmoral, and they get this red box with all the papers from the government. And so he says, all of the things that they want me to see, they put on top. Everything they don't want me to see, they put on the bottom. And so she asked, she goes, well, then what do you do? And he goes, I just take it and I flip it.
Pump it up.
And then, they chuckle, and
That's funny.
it was like a cute little moment between father and daughter, and like king and future queen.
They're real people.
Yeah.
That's
So
a great scene.
that's like one of my, I guess, rewatchable scenes. So yes, I had a good time, and it keeps making me think, and I'll probably be thinking about stuff all night now.
Like,
And
I
I'll
should have
just
said this.
randomly
I should have
text
said
you.
that. Yes, that's great.
That's why it was so hard to pick what was the most like rewatchable part, because you would think of 700 different parts.
Yeah, when
There's 60 episodes. Everyone is I would say of the 60 episodes, I would say 50 were like spectacular.
Yes. So as you're watching it, you have to text me about if you have any questions, or like be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened.
And Yogi agrees.
That's
Is that
not
you?
us. That's you.
That's you. That's your
I
dog.
have a dog over here. Oh, it's outside the house. Okay, it's not my
The
dog.
call is coming from
I
outside.
know. I'm like, it must be Yogi right now. Yogi's like, how dare you accuse me of a crime I didn't commit?
I know he's looking at me right now, like he's ready to
No,
bark.
that's not me, man. That's not me. For Mrs. McDonald and Mr. McDonald, my name is Mr. Richardson. Thank you always for listening to the podcast, not Mr. Michigan. Thank you. And we will talk to you next time.